You know that gut twisting feeling when something just feels off, like there's a storm brewing beneath the surface, but everyone else is blind to it. That's your intuition speaking. And today I want to give you the tools to hear it loud and clear. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the unmistakable signs of an emotionally immature man. And trust me, once you see these, you can no longer unsee them. Let's start with the truth. Emotional immaturity isn't just annoying. It's dangerous to your soul. It shows up as inconsistency, avoidance, and a lack of responsibility. It's the little gaslights, the subtle dismissals, the I don't know what you want from attitude that leaves you questioning yourself. And it's everywhere, in relationships, at work, even in friendships masquerading as love. The thing about emotionally immature men is that they often seem charming, even magnetic at first. They make you laugh, they make grand gestures, but under the surface, there's a lack of emotional depth, a failure to confront their own vulnerabilities. And here's the kicker, they don't just hurt you, they drain you, they make you feel invisible while expecting you to cater to them emotionally. So how do you spot them fast? How do you avoid the emotional wreckage before it happens over the next sections? I'm going to break down 10 unmistakable signs, patterns that will make your heart stop, and then strengthen it in ways you didn't know were possible. By the end, you'll not just see the signs, you'll feel empowered to act on them. Because here's the truth, knowing is power, and power is freedom. One of the very first things you notice, and it's subtle, almost sneaky, is how he avoids responsibility. He rarely admits when he's wrong. Instead, he shifts blame, deflects, or gaslights you into questioning your own perspective. You say, you hurt me, and instead of acknowledging it, he says, well, that's not what I meant, or you're overreacting. That's a classic hallmark of emotional immaturity, the inability to sit in discomfort, to face the truth about their own behavior. Emotionally mature people own their mistakes. They can sit in that awkward, vulnerable space and say, I was wrong, I see it, and I'll do better. But emotionally immature men, they treat accountability like it's a trap. Their defense mechanisms kick in: denial, projection, avoidance, and you end up feeling alone in a relationship that's supposed to be a partnership. Here's the harsh reality. This pattern doesn't just hurt your ego. It erodes trust and slowly makes you doubt your own worth. You start walking on eggshells, anticipating the next deflection or denial. And while you might excuse it at first, thinking everyone makes mistakes, this isn't just a slip, it's a chronic pattern, recognizing this early is crucial. A man who can't hold himself accountable won't be able to grow with you emotionally. And relationships with such men rarely evolve into healthy partnerships. They stagnate in frustration, resentment, and silent pain. So pay attention. Notice how he handles conflict, mistakes, and confrontation. This is your first red flag, the one that whispers, run if you want to protect your heart. If you've ever tried to have a deep, honest conversation with him and felt like you were speaking to a brick wall, this is why. Emotionally immature men are terrified of vulnerability. They shy away from anything that requires them to feel, to reflect, or to express discomfort. Instead, they distract, joke, or change the subject, anything to avoid the rawness of real connection. Here's the painful truth. When a man avoids emotional depth, he's avoiding himself. He doesn't want to confront his fears, his insecurities, or the uncomfortable truths about his life. And when someone refuses to face themselves, they can't truly face you either. Conversations stay shallow. Intimacy feels like an illusion. You may feel close one day and completely isolated the next, and you're left wondering, why does he never open it up? This avoidance shows up in countless ways. He may downplay your feelings, call your emotions dramatic, or insist that everything is fine when clearly it's not. He may cling to distractions, work, video games, for anything that keeps him from sitting with the discomfort of authentic emotional exchange. And over time, you start to mirror his fear. You silence your own feelings, thinking it's easier than rocking the boat. Here's the core of it. Emotional immaturity isn't just about bad habits. It's about fear. fear of being seen, fear of failing, fear of vulnerability. And when someone carries that fear, they can't walk with you in true emotional intimacy, recognizing this as a gift. It's the first step to refusing the emotional emptiness that masquerades as love. One of the most glaring signs, and one that can make your heart ache, is the way he prioritizes himself above everything else. Emotionally immature men live in the moment, chasing whatever feels good or convenient, often with zero regard for how their actions impact you. Plans are canceled without thought, promises are broken casually, and decisions are made on impulse, as if your feelings are invisible or secondary. This self-centeredness isn't just annoying, it's a pattern that reveals a deeper truth. He hasn't learned empathy. He struggles to see beyond his own desires and discomforts, and in his world, you are often a supporting character rather than an equal partner. You may catch yourself constantly accommodating, negotiating, or rationalizing his behavior, and slowly the imbalance erodes your self-worth. Impulsivity shows up in subtle ways too. He may lash out in anger, make reckless financial choices, or speak before thinking, all while leaving you to clean up the emotional or practical fallout. And the harder you try to anchor him, to reason with him, the more resistant he becomes. It's as if responsibility itself terrifies him, and he retreats into self-indulgence as a shield. Here's what's crucial. Recognizing this pattern early is liberating. An emotionally immature man rarely changes unless he confronts the core issues driving his behavior, and many never do. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to fix him. Understanding this gives you clarity, power, and permission to protect your emotional space before it's compromised. Have you ever felt like you're living in emotional limbo? One moment he's affectionate, attentive, and seemingly present, and the next, he's distant, unresponsive, or completely unavailable. This hot and cold behavior is classic emotional immaturity. It's not just confusing, it's exhausting. Your heart is left swinging, trying to predict his moods, while he escapes accountability by hiding behind inconsistency. Emotionally immature men are masters of avoidance. They may text for days, then disappear without explanation. They make promises in the heat of a moment, but fail to follow through when the reality sets in. When confronted, they often offer vague excuses or shift the blame onto you, leaving you questioning your own perception. Over time, this unpredictability chips away at your confidence and trust, leaving you desperate for reassurance. This roller coaster pattern is rooted in fear. Fear of intimacy, fear of responsibility, fear of being fully known. By keeping you off balance, they avoid the vulnerability required for a healthy, emotionally mature connection. And while charm and attention may flood in during hot moments, the cold moments reveal the emptiness underneath, a lack of commitment, depth, and genuine care. Recognizing this behavior is crucial because it's not a temporary flaw, it's a recurring pattern. The longer you stay, the more your own emotional stability becomes tied to his unpredictable moods. Spotting this early isn't pessimistic, it's protective. It allows you to reclaim your energy, your confidence, and your sense of self rather than being tethered to someone who cannot fully show up for you. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but how a man navigates it reveals everything about his emotional maturity. An emotionally immature man sees conflict as a threat, not an opportunity. Instead of engaging with honesty and respect, he reacts defensively, shuts down, or explodes with anger. He avoids resolution, leaving issues to fester like silent poison in your connection. You might notice subtle patterns. He stonewalls when confronted, refuses to discuss feelings, or responds with sarcasm or passive aggression. When pressed, he might deflect with, "You're making a big deal out of nothing," leaving you questioning your reality. His inability to tolerate discomfort creates a cycle where problems are ignored, resentment builds, and emotional intimacy crumbles. Here's the emotional cost. When conflict is mishandled, you're left carrying the weight of unresolved tension. You apologize for things you didn't do, minimize your own feelings, and walk on eggshells to avoid triggering an outburst. Over time, you internalize the chaos, and your own voice, the one that matters, is silenced. The truth is, Emotionally mature individuals confront disagreements with curiosity, empathy, and a willingness to understand the other person. They can hold space for difficult conversations without fear, and they don't weaponize vulnerability. But the emotionally immature, they run, lash out, or shut you out entirely. Spotting this pattern early saves you years of heartbreak. It shows you whether he can actually meet you as a partner, or if the relationship will remain a battleground of fear, frustration, and unmet emotional needs. One of the most heartbreaking signs is when he can't or won't plan for the future. Emotionally immature men live almost entirely in the present, chasing immediate gratification while avoiding the responsibilities and foresight that a lasting partnership requires. Conversations about us or our future feel like pulling teeth met with vague answers, deflection, or outright avoidance. He may say all the right things at first, grand promises, someday plans, but when you try to anchor those words into reality, the foundation is shaky. Renting a place together, discussing finances, or even planning a weekend trip can trigger avoidance. It's not laziness, it's fear. Fear of accountability, fear of vulnerability, fear of being tethered. And while this may seem exciting at first, it's a trap. Emotional immaturity hides behind charm and spontaneity, making it feel like freedom. But the cost is your stability and peace of mind. Notice how he approaches goals. Does he have a plan for his life? Can he discuss personal growth, career ambition, or relationship milestones? If the answers are vague, noncommittal, or dismissive, it's a glaring red flag. A man unwilling to imagine a shared future often lacks the inner resources to sustain one. Here's the reality: you deserve someone who dreams with you, plans with you, and carries their own weight. Recognizing the lack of commitment early doesn't make you cynical. It makes you wise. It's a boundary that protects your heart, your time, and your emotional energy from being invested in someone incapable of matching it. One of the most frustrating and revealing patterns of emotional immaturity is the inability to hear you without defensiveness. The moment you offer honest feedback, or even gently express your needs, he reacts as if you've attacked him. You might see eye, rolling excuses, sarcasm, or even outright anger. What feels like a simple human conversation becomes a minefield of tension and guilt. Emotionally immature men struggle with self-reflection. They fear judgment or exposure, so any feedback feels like criticism to them. Instead of seeing it as a chance to grow or connect, they retreat or lash out. You may notice him saying, "You're too sensitive. I don't know why you're upset, or why are you overanalyzing everything, subtle tactics that invalidate your feelings while protecting his fragile ego." This constant defensiveness creates a toxic dynamic. You start censoring yourself, tiptoeing around your words, and second-guessing your own emotions. Slowly, your voice, the one that matters most, is muted. You begin to question if your needs and feelings are legitimate, and that's exactly what he wants. A relationship where his fragility is protected at the cost of your emotional safety. Here's the core truth: emotionally mature men can hear feedback without fear. They can pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully, even if it's uncomfortable. They don't make you feel like the problem simply because you dared to speak your truth. Recognizing defensiveness early is a gift. It shows you whether a man is capable of evolving alongside you, or if he will keep you trapped in frustration, self-doubt, and emotional labor that never ends. Have you ever been in a fight, or even a small disagreement, and noticed he refuses to genuinely apologize? He might say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "If I hurt you, I didn't mean it," but these are not apologies, they're deflections. Emotionally immature men struggle to take full responsibility for their words or actions. Admitting fault feels like losing power, exposing vulnerability, or admitting imperfection, and that terrifies them. This behavior is emotionally exhausting. You're left piecing together what sorry actually means while he avoids any accountability. Over time, the absence of a sincere apology creates emotional erosion. It leaves you feeling unheard, invalidated, and trapped in cycles of unresolved tension. It's not just about a single argument. It's a pattern that tells you he cannot or will not honor your feelings fully. An authentic apology is transformative. It requires acknowledgement, remorse, and a commitment to change. It's a way to rebuild trust and connection. But with an emotionally immature man, you rarely get this. Instead, you get excuses, blame, shifting, or the classic "I didn't do anything wrong" attitude, which silently communicates your feelings are secondary to my ego. Spotting this early is vital. If he cannot apologize sincerely, he cannot truly engage in a relationship that respects both partners' humanity. Recognizing this pattern is not pessimistic, it's protective. It gives you the clarity to decide whether this relationship can grow or whether it will continue to drain your heart while he avoids the very growth you need in a partner. The last sign, and perhaps the most revealing, is his deep avoidance of emotional intimacy. Beyond the charm, the words, and the fleeting moments of closeness, he refuses to truly connect on a vulnerable level. He might share surface-level thoughts or funny anecdotes, but when it comes to fears, regrets, dreams, or emotions that matter, he shuts down. You feel the distance, even when he's physically near. This avoidance isn't an accident, it's a defense mechanism. Emotional intimacy requires courage, self-awareness, and the ability to sit with discomfort. When a man consistently withdraws from this, it's a signal that he cannot meet you where you are. Over time, this creates a profound loneliness, even in the midst of togetherness. You begin to crave something real, only to be met with walls, excuses, or distractions. Here's the ultimate truth: emotional immaturity is not something you can fix. It's not your job to change him, to guide him, or to hope he grows into what you need. Recognizing these signs, avoiding accountability, lacking emotional depth, impulsivity, hot and cold behavior, poor conflict management, fear of commitment, defensiveness, refusal to apologize, and emotional avoidance is your superpower. It allows you to protect your heart, honor your feelings, and choose a partner capable of true connection. You deserve someone who shows up consistently with empathy, accountability, and courage, someone who can hold their own emotions and honor yours. You deserve love that nurtures, challenges, and grows with you, not drains or diminishes you. And the moment you recognize these signs, you reclaim your power. You no longer settle for less than you deserve. You no longer confuse charm for character. You no longer compromise your emotional well-being. The most radical act of love is choosing yourself first, always.